I'm more American than I am Thai, right? Because I grew up in New York for 30 years. So I was a little culture shocked and I had no idea how the industry worked here. I came down here, I'm like, there's like thousands and thousands of pizza shops, but it's all like Neapolitan pizza. There's only a couple operators doing New York pizza. So I was like, okay, let's do New York pizza. Thai pizzas that there's no cheese, it's mayo and ketchup, and they're really based on ketchup. We had to kind of adjust our sauces. Originally, I was gonna go with more traditional, very simple tomato sauce, but Thai people, they like lochat, and they like there's a lot of flavor in Thai food. I didn't think pizza was that hard, but it is. If to get on a consistent level, it's a process.
All right, so welcome. I am here at Chef Bing Pizza, joined by Bing. So thanks for joining me today.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course. So Bing, if you could you just give a brief introduction of yourself and what you do here in Thailand?
So I'm originally born in Bangkok, Thailand. I relocated to New York when I was about 6. Lived and worked in New York for about 30 years, and I ended up coming back home to Thailand about 7 years ago, and I'm the chef owner of Chef Bing Pizza.
Fantastic. Well, The reason I invited you on, it was, of course, because I've enjoyed your pizza, right? It's absolutely fantastic. So anyone who is in town and looking for some New York style pizza specifically, you know where to come. So maybe we take a step back and talk about that history in New York.
I was literally sitting at home in my apartment and looking for a job on Craigslist, and I came across Harold Dieterle's restaurant. I think he was like the first winner of Top Chef, and he was opening his second restaurant. His first was Perilla, but he was opening Kin Shop. So I kind of saw it okay, I'm Thai. He was doing like a modern Thai concept. So I applied. Sent in my resume, which was fake. It was like culinary school, blah, 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 blah. I got the interview, and I went there and I was not prepared. I was dress code wise and everything wise. I was not prepared for the kitchen, but I think he needed body. And he wanted to see, I showed up in like patent leather shoes. You're like, in the kitchen, you're in essentially a suit with like a chef's coat on, right? And I think Harold just really wanted to see what because nobody had, I think it's a pretty rare story that somebody's gonna show up to a kitchen's trail, a stage in patent leather shoes, but it happened, and I came into work to the stage. The first day they didn't hire me. I came into work for free that Friday night, and he asked me if I could cook white rice, and I had some questions in my head. I won't dig into it too much, but yeah, I was like, essentially, I was like, what do you mean, like in a rice cooker? And he's like, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, chef, I can cook rice in a rice cooker. It wasn't even a job. It was my first being in an open kitchen, and and it's a busy night, and I think he asked me how the rice was, and I opened it, and the rice was pretty much perfect, and so got my foot in the door. He gave me a chance. They ended up hiring me afterwards. Yeah.
Wow. So you know how to make rice. Did you have rice written on your resume? Like, I'm Thai and I know how to make rice.
No, I don't know. I guess they were. I don't know who didn't know how to make rice, but they were not. They couldn't make the rice the way that the chef wanted. So that was the blessing, I guess, for me. When I was like, okay, he's got the rice down.
Was there anything else that you think he saw in you? Because obviously
he saw potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's now that I'm, had a couple of chef positions, and now I'm an owner operator, and you have to be able to read people at the end of the day to kind of and I think well, I had to we still conversate every now and then like through messaging and stuff like that and but yeah, I think he saw something in me. He was actually gonna let me go a month into the job. Basically, he sat me down. I think it was another Friday night, and he sat me down when I got in. Yeah. I think he was just kind of seeing if, at the end of the day, if my mindset was gonna change. Where if you want to really pursue this culinary thing, it's more a mindset of like, are you just willing to just give it your all? So I asked him for that night. I was like, hey, I was messing up on the line too. I was like forgetting ingredients and I'm slow and an accumulation of things. It wasn't just one thing. I didn't go to school. I'm not like self-trained. So I asked him for that night, that service. I think it was full reservations. I think we were doing like 3 turns, 4 turns. It was like only like a 50-something seat restaurant. But yeah, I didn't mess up. So I was fortunate that the kitchen that I entered in was a great kitchen. The sous chef was talented. Everybody was talented for the most part. But except for me. and yeah, it was a good environment to learn. But it was still that it's definitely not the same now. The industry is being ran a little different. I think people have to be a little bit more sensitive, and tough love doesn't work anymore I think in any field, but especially in the F&B. But we're known for a tough working environment. Like if you guys are Bourdain fans, and you already understand he told it quite well in his books. Yeah. So go stylish, and then if you like it, then go to culinary school. Yeah. Then go to culinary school. See if you can. It's the hours. Thailand is different though. The setup is. I don't know if the States is changing yet, but it's kind of brutal here. It's a 6-day work week. Yeah. And normally it's 10, but in the restaurant industry, you're working 12, 13, 14 hours. You get overtime, but it's still, a long shift.
So you experienced, you got a lot of experience in the U.S. under this chef, a top chef.
Yeah.
Can you fast forward a bit to your first step was when arriving in Thailand to get a job here and everything?
As soon as I got back, I said, okay, I'm gonna at least vacation. So I took a vacation, basically Thailand. I went up north, I went down south. Just kind of went all over. After 6 months, I decided that because I'm more American than I am Thai, right? Because I grew up in New York for 30 years. So I was a little culture shocked, and I had no idea how the industry worked here. Originally, I started looking at all these hotel jobs, but nobody would hire me because I had no hotel experience. Even though I worked in F&B, I worked for like restaurants, and I had a decent resume. I worked for some great chefs.
A real resume at that point.
Yeah. At that point, but when I got here, I had a real resume. I had a Chef Bing LLC that was in New York. We were doing clean food, clean eating, catering, very customer service oriented. But yeah, so the hotels wouldn't give me the time of day. So I went online. Actually, I think it was a friend of mine. I think he got a job down south in Krabi. And they were looking for a chef. It was a bistro down in Ao Nang. So salary was decent, for Thailand, it was like 60K, but they only paid me 55. But I got down there and I signed a 1-year contract, and I just wanted to learn how to work with Thai people. So it was an interesting experience. Very different than what I was accustomed to back in New York. Lack of focus. And that's to each. It was a beach town at the end of the day, right? It wasn't like in Bangkok, So I took it in as like, let me enjoy beach life. I'll do my job, But they knew I was not going to stay after a year, So I did everything they asked me to do. I got their recipes down. I did their their events and stuff like that, and I left after it was October. I had left and I decided. By then I already have decided before I took the job actually. So I got here. I had to figure out what I was gonna do. I knew I was gonna open something of my own, and when my brother was here and stuff like that, and we had conversations with friends in New York, and they were the plan was pizza, New York style pizza, because I saw the market. I came down here. I'm like, there's like thousands and thousands of pizza shops, but it's all like Neapolitan pizza. There's only a couple operators doing New York pizza. So I was like, okay, let's do New York pizza. I didn't think the recipe was going to be, I didn't think pizza was that hard, but it is. Like, if like to get on a consistent level, like it's a process, So, I isolated myself and I started recipe testing. Yeah.
Well, so May, who was your girlfriend at the time, right?
Yeah.
What did she think about the idea of starting a New York style pizza place?
I think she thought it was a great idea. I think she believed in me, like from the get. We love, and I always knew that 'cause I can't read or write Thai, right? And I knew it was either I got to get a business partner or I got to get a partner, And luckily I found a partner, and so. She took she had a job. She was already working at the time. She was working for like Israeli company, and down in Phuket. Like she was like she's a Southern girl, worked in Phuket for like 9-10 years. So I saw that like she was a leader. She was like, and we kind of had the conversation because at the end of the day, like I had no money, but my family are okay, right? And she has money, she has a family, she worked, she saved up some money, and we just decided to just start to build this business together at my mom's house in Mombotong. So essentially, like after a couple of months, she left her job. And then she moved in with us, or with me, at my mom's house, and we just got working. So we got everything started for 1 million baht, which you cannot do in the United States, So that's why I think a little bit of just the point that I feel the American dream is kind of. It's almost gone in America. It's almost like you already had to have money to be able to start something over there. Here is, there's a lot of potential, but it's you definitely need to understand how to move through the Thai society, because at the end of the day you're in Thailand. Fortunately for me, I'm Thai, so it's easier for me to maneuver. I have more information, but for like foreigners and expats and stuff like that, it's like it's not easy to move here and just start. I got money. Yeah, you can, but there's certain ways you have to maneuver through the country, through the kingdom.
Yeah, good point. I mean, I think a lot of foreigners come here and see opportunities because there are some things that are maybe less efficient or whatever else, but they don't necessarily know why those things are less efficient or what's actually going on. And it takes a while to kind of get it.
Yeah.
Can take many, many years. And as you said, I think you learned a lot even being Thai.
Yeah.
Right? It probably took a while to adjust to Thailand for you.
Absolutely. I'm still adjusting,
Yeah.
you know, as growing as a business and growing as like an operator, right? Yeah, there's the social ranking and social status is a big thing here, you know, and whether you want to believe it or not, it is. And, you know, it's hard to try to just be in the middle. That's why I think my isolation a little bit helped me, because I wasn't like around everybody, and because the industry is small, you know, even in New York it's small, you know, but it's even smaller here, you know. So like my thing is, if you're trying to open a business and become a small business, yes, it's very easy to become a small business here. But if you're trying to you have bigger plans and bigger dreams, you have to understand the pecking order. Yeah, there's a lot of layers.
Well, so walk me through what that was like when you started the business. I understand that you started it, your mother invested, you began working on recipes together, right? Or sorry, with your partner, you guys were working together on recipes. Can you speak a little bit to the location, the starting of the business, the launch, things like this in those early days?
Well, early days was kind of tough. I think the isolation. What was tough was more the relationship with me and my mother, because I knew it wasn't gonna work. She wanted me to open the pizzeria downstairs because we had a big space, we had a big house, and but it's in Bang Butong, in like the west side of town before you're gonna go to Ayutthaya, and it was for Thai people, you know. So we had to kind of adjust our sauces. So originally I was gonna go with more traditional, very simple tomato sauce, the American style. But Thai people, they like lochat, you know, and they like there's a lot of flavor in Thai food, you know. So I decided to just really, everything was geared towards the Thai market. It wasn't for Americans, it wasn't for tourists, it was for Thai people. So, you know, our sauce recipe is very unique. People would actually be kind of curious if I told you what are the ingredients that we put in there, but I won't tell you. But yeah, so that was the whole thing, you know. Like I knew that we were gonna sell to Thai people. That was the goal. If we get the tourists, we get the expats, great. But we're gonna sell it to the Thai people. So we started, you know, after the 6 months of recipe testing, and then you had to learn how to open the pizza and get everything, you know, baking it and everything. So overall, it took a year. My mom, being the Thai mother and Thai parent, I should say, they tend to not let go, or you know, if they have it set that they want you to do something, they want you to do it that way. So even though under my advisement that I told her it was gonna fail, we opened in Bang Batong downstairs. We put some money into renovations. We opened. I had at this time I found a pizza oven, a Peerless pizza oven from Pitsunulo. We were burning through like a tank of propane a day, you know, and we have no business. There's nobody coming in, you know, because we're not on the main street. We're in that Muban, you know, we're like deep in this thing. And I'm like, so I made the call after a month, you know. At least we got the chance to kind of like soft open, you know. We got to invite. I think ultimately that's why my mom wanted it. But we could have done without all the renovations, right? Like we could have just like, yeah, let's eat some pizza. right? But so we got to host for a little bit. You know, I got to make pizzas. I had a station, so definitely still helped me. You know, kind of gearing up for the business. So ultimately, after a month, we decided to shut down, and we decided to open at my dad's place. My dad's place was right near Khao San, right? It was like a couple of meters from Khao San. So it was a Buddhist bookshop, like a Lan Tama, like for the temples and stuff like that. And it was small, but it was a corner lot. It was actually that space still reminded me of New York. Like that would be, it was a really tiny, like kind of hole in the wall. You know, my dad kind of cleared out. He had a lot of stock, but it was a town 3-level, 4-level townhouse. So we had a little bit of space upstairs, but it was tiny, super small, and we made it work. You know, we shut down. I think it was November, right? I think in October or November from Bang Batong, and then I decided we needed to order an oven. You know, because I was looking for ovens here, and most of the ovens were not what I was looking for. You know, they were not the quality that I needed. So I had a Peerless oven, so I knew that, okay, this Peerless oven, this is what I need, because I was cooking it out of there. The pizzas were coming out pretty good. You know, they were, like, my friends came, you know, I kind of got to see, I had some New Yorkers came and kind of gave me the vote of confidence to keep going. So we ordered an oven. You know, it took about 4 months to get here, right? And so I think we ordered it in like November. And COVID was started, I think, in the beginning of that year of 2020, I believe. And the ovens have just arrived, and we're like, it's cold. Like, what are we gonna do? You know, me and my wife is like, we have to open. You know, it's like, what are we gonna do? You know, ovens here, the space, we got the space ready. You know, it was just a small team. It was me, my wife, and Bod, which is a kind of like a family friend. You know, that we kind of help take care of their family and stuff like that. They did a lot for us when they helped take care of us when we were younger and stuff like that. So yeah, we decided to open. You know, but business was terrible. The first couple of months, there was no tourists. You know, and all the expats lived on Sukhumvit and in the city, so I was far. So, you know, like pizza, if you don't get that thing delivered within like 20 minutes, it's the quality, you know, like I wouldn't order pizza. It was like 40 minutes away, and that's what it was. But luckily, there was a lot of Thai businesses around there, like some bigger companies, you know, with like 1,000 employees and stuff like that. And they came out and, you know, opened, like, hey, come, you know, to try it out, you know, help support. And so we started getting things rolling, you know. At that point, we weren't doing any ads or anything like that. And business was slow, but I wasn't paying any rent. It was my dad's space, you know. We were still sharing it, you know. He still had his Buddhist books operation, still kind of there, but more inventory. And then I had the ground floor, you know, which was tiny. I'm bad with square meters, but it was definitely New York City style kitchen, like we're like back to back. So the Thai community really got us through COVID, you know, at the end of the day, you know, because like if we didn't, we didn't gear towards the Thai palate. Like we had Kho Mu Yang pizza. That was like the staple. We knew we were going to come in with something for specifically for Thai people. Yeah. And we came with the Kho Mu Yang, you know, that's sweet and spicy, you know. I thought it was great. It was a great combination. You know, we that was one of the toppings from the beginning, you know, before I even got the recipe down, you know. And then we had, you know, Nam Tim Chow, some hot oil, kind of give him like these little dipping sauces, and yeah, it really worked out.
Yeah.
But we had a really good push through the new year. We were started, and then migration Mark Leans, Migrationology. He reached out and super organic, super genuine, and we decided to shoot. Of course, I wanted. I actually at the time I didn't know who he was. We were contacted through DM, and at the end of the, we were busy that day, and I gave the phone to my wife at the end of the night, and I'm like, hey, this guy is gonna come, and he's gonna come shoot, and then she recognized who it was, and then I saw the scope of it, and I was like. And the crazy thing was the day that we play, I asked him to choose the day, and the date that he chose, it was actually my birthday. And I didn't even realize it. I woke up that day, it was a Sunday morning, and I just realized that day that shit, Mark Williams was coming. But I think we had a really great, everything was just super centered, right? And his energy coming in was, just a really humbling experience. Not too many people get that, one-on-one with a guy so busy, right? So, we just really shot. We didn't really edit much. Everything was kind of just straight through.
Yeah.
And it gave us a little bit of global recognition. We started picking up some followers and a lot of words of encouragement, and then I-Tan, who is Mark's partner in business, he came and did a Thai version, because like when Mark came, we did it all in English, right? So I-Tan came and they did the shoot all in Thai. So, it's like trying to speak Thai the best that I can, like it was some broken Thai, but I think I handled it relatively well. But yeah, when I-Tan came, because it was during COVID, so we didn't shoot inside the restaurant, and plus we had like 3 tables. We were not a sit-down restaurant, so it worked perfectly. Where the concept was, hey, I'm gonna order it to go eat at home, and I'm gonna review, because everybody's locked down, so delivery was picking up. Yeah, I think he aired it like 4 days later. It took a couple of days to edit, and then he aired it, and our lines just, we got to the 2-3, it was like 3-month wait, until you could get the next high. And yeah, people waited, so it was good. It gave us like this clear, it always helped us, because then we got new workers, we hired some people. Some guys that I work with down south came up, and they to come help me work, and so everything was kind of that system, that POS was already started like naturally for us. So it helped the core team, which was me, my wife, and Bai, to really just understand like, hey, even if whatever, we could still do it ourselves, because the biggest problem is with people, with acquiring staff and keeping staff, and making sure that staff is growing, right?
So before we touch on staff, because staff is definitely a big challenge for any business, probably anywhere, but also in Thailand. But I want to talk more about the recipe. You touched on the fact that you're aiming at Thai customers, because obviously that's the base, right? I mean, we're in Thailand, right?
Yeah.
So you have to adapt your recipe for the Thai audience. But I would say that I certainly love your pizzas. I think a lot of foreigners that I know and expats that I know really like your pizzas. So I would say you didn't adapt it to the point that it's similar to the pizza that you get at a market or something like that here, which is super sweet or anything like this.
Yeah.
It seems like you've struck a really good balance.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious, if you were to say the big changes that you made, without of course listing your exact ingredients, right? But what other things did you have to change to better meet a happy medium?
Well, so at the end of the day, I think we had to change certain things to kind of we're not our pizza wasn't meant for delivery. You know, like we definitely have regular customers that says, yeah, we still order, but you know, nothing beats a fresh pie, right? The biggest thing was sauce, you know, and we kept it, and it was, you know what it is like the pizza here is, especially, you know, there's not enough education for Thai people about pizza. They know Neapolitan pizza. They do not know New York style pizza. And luckily, fortunately, you know, I had, you know, other, I guess, competitors that opened like, I think a year or something around the same time, where they were already kind of educating the Thai community about what it should be. But in Thai people, you know, there's Thai pizzas that there's no cheese, it's mayo and ketchup, you know, and they're really based on ketchup. So we were like, okay, we're gonna get it down to where we're gonna season the sauce was the main thing, because it ended up helping us at the end right now as supply chain issues arise. Because I had to make the decision: am I going to be a purist, or am I going to make this flavorful? Because Thais like flavor, right? So I said, okay, I'm not a purist, right? And we're gonna season this sauce. We season our sauce heavily, and we cook it down for, you know, about 7-8 hours. So it's a process, right? And it's all just to create the natural sweetness. You know what happens here? A lot of pizzerias, and they're just like, some of them they're just using you know, just the canned tomatoes, which is fine. You know, you're getting quality product from Italy and stuff like that. But, you know, if I had to look scalable long term, right? So I need my tomato sauce to keep, right? So I need to cook this thing down, and I need to store it properly. So because like when you don't do that cold cook, everything spoils really easily. You know, especially, you know, if you're like some of these pizzerias, they're literally using the sauce straight out from the container, right? That's like the purists, right? That's why sometimes I don't like. I think people should really get away from that a little bit on this authenticity. Like, oh, this is authentic. Like there's a lot of you end up kind of putting yourself in a box, you know, where now. You know, why did you need to put that label on? You know, like, what if you can't get these tomatoes anymore, and now you only can get Thai tomatoes? Now what happens, right? So yeah, it was the sauce.
What about on the crust side? Because I know some New Yorkers or people seeking New York style pizza really do care about the crust as well. So how do you strike that balance?
The crust, no, we knew Thai people liked crispy pizza, like crispy stuff anyway, and we wanted to get it as crispy as possible because we wanted to hold up as much as possible during delivery. If you have a fresh pie out of here, it's like, yeah, there's no flop. You know, where we did have to negotiate on was the undercarriage, because we're used to more of the whole bottom being this charcoal, nice dark color, and Thai people, once they see black, they shy away from it because you know, carcinogens, all that types of stuff, which is valid. So we played the happy medium. You know, so, you know, if a purist came, like, I don't know, that's why I'm curious if I can get, you know, Portney out here, you know, go Patriots. I would be curious to see what he would rank. Yeah. You know, just because he's done so much for we saw it like during COVID, you know, like him going out, it just helped all these pizzerias, you know, so. Yeah, I think our pizza is unique. It's you know, it's New York style. It's not authentic. You know, it's the chefing pizza is New York pizza. Yes. Yeah.
Well, what about the way to eat the pizza? Are you supposed to eat it by folding it? Is this New York style, like eating it? Or are
Yeah,
you supposed
we
to take your fork and knife and Thai style?
It's folding. Thai style is fork and knife, and Europeans actually. Yeah, most Europeans ask for fork. So it was originally when we started, I was just gonna paper plate, kind of deal, and then the Thais are like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "All right." So because we didn't really want to have to do the whole dining, right? We were kind of like, maybe we try to go towards delivery a little bit. But at the end of the day, we wanted people to experience the pizza in a location, because if you had our pizza before only for delivery, I would highly recommend coming in and eating it straight out the oven. It's a totally different pizza.
Speaking of that, what is your go-to pizza when, well, let's say you're bringing family and friends over and you kind of want your favorite or your favorites to go on the table? What do you think your top 3 are?
Well, okay, for personal, I'm a cheese. I'm a regular cheese. We do have our imported imported mozzarella cheese from California, which gives it it's like a New York slice, the cheese melt and everything. So that's why I'm a cheese guy. But our regular cheese one, the classic cheese that we have with our Australian cheese, it's just as delicious. It's just a different style, but that's the one that we use on all our pies. It's to keep the price point down. Because, I would love to change it to all the other cheese, but our prices are going to go through the roof. And it's going to turn customers away. And people like our cheese. The normal cheese that we use on all our pizzas, people really, really like it. If you want to try something new, I would highly recommend the Koh Bouillon. It's our number 1 seller because our main customer base is Thai. So believe it or not, it beats out pepperoni. It's Koh Bouillon, then pepperoni, then the third is Hawaiian, which is pineapples. That's why I said, purists, you're in the market, I'm in Thailand, Thais love pineapples. So I'm going to put pineapples on the pizza. If you don't, that's your, you have every right to not.
Yeah, so that's interesting. You have quite a variety, and you've even mentioned to me offline that for more of the purist, let's say that you're hosting an event, which we'll touch into later, is that the catering and some of this personalized sort of offerings that you have. But from my understanding, for the purist, you can offer a more pure New York style pizza, one-off basis, right?
Yeah. So, we have it on the menu. It's essentially just changing the cheese, getting this. Yeah, this cheese is really just really quality cheese. It's stop process. It's non-GMO, no trans fat. It's healthy cows, I guess. But we tend to, my focus back in New York, my only head chef job in New York was, I was more focused on plant-based and vegan food and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to kind of exploring that more. Getting some more. Plus, it helps bring down the price point. When you stop using all this meat and stuff, vegetables are cheaper. So I'm trying to get even more friendlier for the Thai community. But at the end of the day, it's a a large pie, on average is 800 baht. A Thai girl's eating 1 slice, So say it's 1 slice a person, it's 100 baht. It's not that bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Definitely, your pricing is very fair, and again, it's just so different than some chain stuff, which is not even in the same ballpark. So if you want a good balance of price and quality, right?
Yeah.
You got it here. So
thank you.
Now, you mentioned in passing that people were a very difficult thing. So when you're thinking about hiring, you're thinking about the people make the business work, right?
Yes.
So do you have anything that you can share in terms of recommendations or lessons that you've learned since starting your business when it comes to either attracting or keeping good employees?
I think we need to, especially, the younger generation, I think they need a little bit more guidance, you know, there, we try to screen them through interviews of like, we kind of have like set questions that we ask every staff, every potential staff that we're interviewing. We're mainly Burmese. Have a good friend that runs a nonprofit and started a company, which is essentially an agency that helps migrate refugees from other countries, specifically Burma. And he helps places them. His team, it's a whole team, you know, and it's for the community. You know, so, you know, he places them and he helps evaluate them. Like, it's more, you really have to ask them, like, hey, what are you trying to get out of this? So that way you don't waste your time. If she just wants to be a cashier, or if she just wants to be a server and, you know, that's what she wants, then okay, great. Let's just make her the best server that she can be. But for me, especially, you know, the difficulty with turnover with employees, I try to like, when I make the decision to hire, I'm looking like, I want them to understand that, hey, there's room for growth in the company, and I want you to be here long term. You know, like, I don't think people look too long term sometimes, you know. I mean, it was like that in New York, you know, you only work for restaurants for like 2 years and then you go to the next one and learn. But here is different, you know, like, I would highly, if it's in the labor department, I highly recommend seeking. There's a lot of agencies out there seeking Burmese. That ISA is the company. ISA covers. They help facilitate the work permit because Thailand, there's a lot of paperwork in anything that you want to get done. You know, but like legally, like on business, like as a business, you need a lot of paperwork. And they basically cut out that problem for the operator, because like, you know, you go through 2 months of all this paperwork, go and drop out all this, and then the person leaves in, you know, 2-3 weeks. Then you just wasted all your time. So with them is like they have a system that's being in place. You know, they're relatively new, you know, they're a startup, but they're gonna get big. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so important to get those right workers, and like you said, with them helping you out, do some of the screening and making sure you're identifying people for the long term. You're going to get people that are going to stay here longer, and you treat them well. I mean, I see, of course, how you treat your staff, and so long as they want to stay long out of it, you're going to, of course, take care of them on the long term, right? So
Yes.
it's a mutual benefit. I'm wondering whether or not you asked them to cook some rice as one of their first tests.
No. It's you know, running a pizzeria and running a restaurant is kind of two separate things, I guess. What I see here in Thailand is too many people in the kitchen. Like every kitchen. Like I go in there, like, you guys sound like ramen. Like, why do you guys have like? Anyway, I'm just trying to get it, because when you want employees to stay long term, they need to understand. They need to see, not just, and you can't just tell them. They need to see that, hey, there's room for growth here. You know, like my dishwasher. You know, I got my dishwasher moved up from dishwasher to become a line cook in like 6 months, right? And now, almost a year later, he's my kitchen manager. Potentially, if you can get his English better, potentially my sous chef. You know, so and essentially we want everybody to be able to learn all the stations, so that way we don't need, we have the safety net, right? Like, oh, if somebody got sick, or somebody can't make it, like, we have it covered, like somebody else can fill in the position. Yeah.
And now I understand you're even expanding further. So can you share a little bit more about your plans for expansion?
Yeah, we're looking for a second location. The reason why we're trying to really push is because you know, I had some deaths, specifically Clinton, that we were talking about, and a family member, and you know, I think the timing is kind of the universe kind of put all these this energy around me at the right time. And I'm potentially working with Diego. He's actually one of the first cooks that I worked with. I do consider him as one of my mentors, you know. And, you know, he's doing great things in New York. He came out here to do a dinner and for a couple nights, and we got time to finally catch up because we've been so busy. And we always kind of had this vision of doing something together. So I think it may something might come out of it. So I'm very excited about that, about growth expanding, like opening. Definitely, the second location is coming. Right, I already have options. I'm just people just need to get their acts together. But event catering is a big thing that I see a huge potential. I did catering in New York City for 4 years. You know, I forgot. Oh, it's 3 years, 4 years. It was the Roseland properties. So it's basically all the condos on the Fort Lee side. I had like 11 condos. Like my friend kind of plugged me. He was one of the management property managers. So they had to throw summer parties and winter parties. So he got me in on his, and then all the other managers saw, and you know, so I have experience. And, you know, I had the opportunity the past month and change to link up with our production team and stuff like that to kind of start doing these events. And it's very interesting. So right now, my main focus is more like on my side of trying to figure out where everybody goes. Like if my friend decides to sign on, which I think he should, you know, we're gonna scale up relatively fast. I think what was hindering our growth was more, you know, I went through some mental health stuff, and you know, I finally got better, and you know, and experiencing death and realizing how short life really is. You know, I set some big goals for myself. So, and I know I can't do it alone. I need a strong team of people that are like-minded and are focused on on the same goal, right? But yeah, I think we're gonna be really gearing towards do some more events. I'm gonna kind of take control of more of a sales position, and because the interesting is like there's so many talented chefs and here in Bangkok already, you know, people are, why don't you just work with somebody that's just already here and stuff like that. It was like me and my friend Diego, we understand each other more. We worked with each other before, you know, we were big friends and stuff like that. But not only that is, you know, I've been here almost 8 to 7 years, you know, and I was lucky to have a community of F&B people, you know, that are kind of like higher up in the social status and stuff like that to kind of help guide me through how to maneuver to the F&B scene here, and it really setting us up for a big win if we can all kind of just come together and get it done. So.
Yeah, and on the catering side, it's interesting because we were also talking a bit about some of your recent experiences kind of putting on events, and there are some really big numbers that go out there for food for some of these events, right? And what's interesting, you mentioned, of course, you're a company, you want to make money, but at the same time, the offerings of getting a few pies for events it can be good for the company, but it also is, I think, very cost effective for some of these events as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw, you know, I was part of, you know, I was helping out a friend, a management team, and I'm watching these quotes that are coming in, and then I'm seeing like, okay, let's just say if your budget, if you don't have a high budget, It's very hard for you to get a caterer here. You know, they come per head, and it's usually 1,000 or not. Then that's for like Thai food, Thai food. You know, so that if you want to do something else, it gets up there. You know, and the way the system, what worked for me in New York was, give me your budget, and I'll tell you the menu. I'll tell you what I can offer. Whether I recommend, if you don't have a budget, pizza is great. It's easy. It's almost like a short thing, you know, like especially our pizza. But you know, we can do other things. That's where this growth is happening. Where I'm gonna kind of, once I'm confident enough in the team, and if I have some leadership members that come in, I will essentially facilitate sales, because the big thing is, when back to the talented chefs here, they're all like under these big groups. So they almost kind of have a little bit of their hands tied. You know, it's like, if you're an expat, if you're not a Thai chef, right, and you're here, you're working for a Thai counterpart, whether it's an American company, whatever company, they're working with a Thai counterpart. If you cannot bridge yourself into the Thai community, you're gonna have a hard time doing something else for yourself, right? So that's why it's like, when we were talking about this whole Diego thing coming over here, and I got to talk to the friends. It's like, yo, you're gonna have you bring along another creative, and salary is high. Right. Where like you what you need is sales. So what works perfect is like, I'm Thai, because like the salesperson has to be Thai, because you got to go sell to Thai people, right? So it kind of works where I'll be the one, as much as I don't want to be out. You know, I'm happy behind the kitchen. You know, happy like here. You know, I don't really need to be out, but it is fun. It does get, you know, but besides that, we also want to kind of really looking into agriculture. I have a team of people that because we're seeing what's happening with farming and agriculture as a whole, as a world. You know, crops are failing. There's drought. There's floods. There's all this stuff, and at least for our pizza, our main focus, like the event catering and stuff, is just another stream of income, right? Of potential income. Our main focus is still the pizza. You know, we're gonna put, even though we're gonna have some exciting off projects that you know we're gonna be doing, and it's gonna be Thai food. It's gonna be Thai, yeah, Thai ... Yeah, I won't tell you guys because somebody might do it. Yeah, we want to grow. Like my family has land that's in Pittsburgh, and we want to get off the supply chain a little bit. So we want to concentrate on growing some really, really quality tomatoes, because like the guys that we're working with, they're like scientists, like on that level. Some of them are like botanists, you know, where we want to harvest our own tomato. Like, imagine, like, we just have our own tomatoes for Chef Big Pizza. You know, we're not servicing it to the market. It's just for our brand and our company. And then at the same time, bringing back a little bit of biodiversity in the Thai crops. I mean, Thai crops are still pretty diverse, but it's getting smaller and smaller. You know, industrialism is starting to set in, right? It's already hit. It's starting to set in. So you're losing a lot of like the heirloom stuff, like Grapao Ban, right? Like Peking Uban. Like, they're different. They're essentially, they're organic, right? They're not mass produced. They're not GMO'd. You know, we're all getting hit with GMO. Like, whether you feel it, you know, we're all getting hit. You know, it's like, you know, we're trying to, we want, the goal is to grow, and the goal is to make money, right? But we also want to add value to the community, especially the Thai community, because we live in Thailand, you know, and we want to, you know, You know, if me growing tomatoes can cut you down with 15 baht on your pizza, then let me grow the tomatoes.
Very cool. Very cool. That's inspiring and something to look forward to. So with that, I'd love if you can give sort of a takeaway of where people can get their best New York style pizza, how they can find you, location, everything like that,
Okay.
if they want to get the best pizza in town.
Okay, so if you're looking for the best New York style pizza in town, we are on Grab, we are on Lineman. I would recommend ordering directly from us. We have a link. Our system is Hato Hub, but our link is in our Instagram profile, Chef Bing Pizza. You can find us on Facebook. You could Google us on YouTube. But I would highly recommend coming to our location here in Ruomiri Soi Song, off of the Plunget BTS station. It's a little bit of a walk, but they have motorbikes. You can pay like 10 baht. You can get over here. Nothing beats pie straight out the oven. And I think we have something special here. And I would love for you guys to come in and try.
Yeah. Well, you've been super generous with your time, Chef. I really enjoy it. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Really great pies here, and I couldn't recommend it enough. Definitely come stop by Chef Bing Pizza. You won't regret it. So
Thank you so much.
perfect. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.